We're live.
Hey everyone, welcome to Slow News Day Live. I'm Steve Poikinen. I'm here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I am joined by my better than your co-host, Glory Jones. What's up?
Hi.
Jones.
I'm doing.
Um, Currently at this very moment, in New York City, the Home Run for Julian tour is going on. I was just checking in on it a little bit. Randy Credico was talking, wearing suspenders thicker than his tie. That was interesting. It was bold. Um, but Roger Waters and a ton of other people are supposed to be speaking at that. It should be a fantastic event. Consortium News has the live streams for all of these events. Trying to remember where they're going to be tomorrow. I know they're going to be at DC over the weekend for their first stop there. But if you're curious, you want to follow the tour along AssangeDefense.com. And then starting the 23rd of this month, I'll be in Denver for that event, starting to film the West Coast leg of the tour for what will wind up being a documentary. And it will go from there to Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and then back to DC. Um, do you have a GoFundMe up for that? Plane tickets broke me. Just two of the three of them. But so for at least the end of the week, I'll have that up, and you can still donate. Trying to put together several flights and some hotels and some food. Wow, man, it's pretty freaking ridiculous. It is just in the span of a couple of months. Airfare quadrupled, quadrupled, at least tripled. It's fucking insane. Yes, Jones.
I mean, I don't know what else to do but agree with you on that.
Okay. Um. So, do you want to kick off with the eco health thing or the JBS thing?
um, we'll go with the JBS just because I have it open in a tab right next to the Jitsi meeting, so it's convenient. But yeah, so what was it, a week or two ago? I don't know if it was last week's show or the week before, but we covered another cyber attack on a critical infrastructure, this time being JBS, a large meat supplier. So that's what she said. So we have an update in that case. Meat giant, sorry, JBS pays $11 million in ransom to resolve cyber attack. Nice. Okay. The world's largest meat processing company has paid the equivalent of $11 million in ransom to put an end to a major cyber attack. Computer networks at JBX were hacked last week, temporarily shutting down some operations. The payment was reportedly made using Bitcoin after plants had to come back online. JBS says it was necessary to pay to protect customers. In a ransomware attack, hackers get into a computer network and threaten to blah, 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 cause disruption or delete files unless a ransom in cryptocurrency is paid. So basically the same type of attack that took place against Colonial Pipeline. This was a very difficult decision to make for a company and for me personally, said JBS chief Andre Nogueira. The company added that, okay, we'll also look at these side articles as well, recovers most of the Colonial Pipeline ransom, and FBI accuses Russia-linked hackers of the attack on JBS. Should firms be more worried about firmware attacks than after those? The company added that it paid the money because of the sophistication of the attack, even though the vast majority of its plants remained operational. The company was forced to halt cattle slaughtering at all of its U.S. plants for a day that disruption threatened food supplies and risked higher food prices for consumers. The White House has said that a criminal organization, likely based in Russia, was behind the attack. Last month, fuel delivery in the southeast of the U.S. was crippled for several days after a ransomware attack targeted the Colonial Pipeline. Investigators say that attack was also linked to a group with ties to Russia. Because, of course, the Colonial Pipeline has confirmed it paid a $4.4 million ransom, while the Justice Department conveniently covered $2.3 million. JBS, a Brazil-based company, said that preliminary investigation results confirmed that no company, customer, or employee data was compromised in the hack. U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to meet his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin Daddy, in Geneva next week. President Biden set off on his first official overseas trip. Nice. Okay. With a warning to Russia that it faces robust and meaningful consequences if it engages in harmful activities. The White House is engaging directly with the Russian government on this matter in delivering the message that responsible states do not harbor ransomware criminals.
Now, what the fuck? Like, where... We can't prove that any of these hackers are Russian nationals. We can't prove that there is any state connection to any of these attacks. We can't prove anything, but you're on notice, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You better take care. You better clean up your side of the street. And also we're going to sanction your citizens.
I mean, all evidence indicates that the cyber attack on JBS was either A, the FBI, or B, a random ransomware group. I mean, like...
Well, and here's the other, like, this is something we were talking about on Anonymous Bites back earlier today. And if you missed that, guy, we had a great conversation with our good friend Ryan Christian, Last American Vagabond. He joined us on Anonymous Bites back this morning. It was his first time back on ABB since like the beginning of lockdowns last year. So that was kind of fun to see like where and how everything worked out, and to kind of look at a couple of the statements that were made a year and a half ago and see how they stood up to where we are now.
And hopefully it'll only take like 6 months to get him on again this time.
Right. And I'm serious, man. Every time he's on this show, however much time elapses, and it's like, holy crap, it seems like it's been forever since you were on. It was 3 weeks. It was, it's just, and that's just how crazy everything's coming down. I was in the middle of setting up a point, and now I can't remember what it was.
You were talking about ransomware, cyber attacks.
Oh, but we were talking this morning about the Colonial hack and the crypto wallet and how easily accessible the crypto wallet was to the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Because in all likelihood, it was the FBI's crypto wallet the entire fucking time. This is another, I mean, we've had major cyber attacks on critical parts of the supply chain and our national infrastructure. And we're supposed to believe that each and every time it's a couple of confederated but just random Russians or Russian hackers, and only and always Russian hackers. I know that that the left
hackers are only Russian.
I know that the political left only sees Russian baddies, and the political right only sees Chinese baddies. But I mean, at what point do like regular human beings start looking at this, and or are they even? Does anybody even give a fuck? The JBS got hacked or the Colonial got shut down, other than to be like inconvenienced by it for a day or so? Is this? I don't know. I
I
really don't.
mean, they cared about it because of how much it suited their narratives. Like, the left cared about it so they could be like, oh, sunrise, this proves we need to transition into a Green New Deal economy. Or, what the right, it was like, aw, shucks, this means we have to get back to oil and coal. Good old oil and coal economy. Look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to shut down the pipelines. That means it needs to stay up. Like, bitch, no. No, not both of you guys got this wrong, and you missed the biggest gasoline spill in probably in the nation's history. So,
I mean, it surprised me when Garland and Wilmer didn't know anything about the gas spill. I mean, that's quite literally like a state away.
yeah,
Largest gas spill in American history. And when an ACLU board member isn't aware of the story because it's not like, I mean, it's not on the dude's news feed. Now, Garland and I have like tried this out where we both have each other's Twitter accounts set to push notifications. Never get them. Never.
I rarely
Never
get
look.
Garland's.
I never. I have Garland on notify. I never get them.
Yeah, oddly enough, because I had both of you guys notified, I got your tweets more than Garland's. I don't know what kind of metrics go into that. I just thought it was
Right.
peculiar. I don't know.
Right. I mean, Garland is, much, much, much more known and quote unquote dangerous. So, that makes sense. Incredibly mellow, very wise fish cop, but
I know, he reminds me of one of my travel coaches. He's got that vibe.
he does.
Maybe it's because he kind of looks like Sean Marion, but yeah.
That's funny.
Worst fucking shot. This dude really shot like down here. His follow through was okay. I'm going on a tangent, but yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you have to do it. You do, like the whole way through. You see that shit to the bitter end. But Garland also has like, I mean, he light years more dangerous, considering he's looking out his airplane window, wondering if he's going to see a missile coming at it.
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah. We usually have those problems. I do want to I want to give a shout out to upcoming, although I don't have a date set for it yet, Slow News Day guest Sam Husseini. Very well respected journalist, because there's a story that's going around right now in mainstream media, and will be picked up, I'm sure, on a couple of the channels that operate like a degree away from the mainstream. I promise you, Sam Husseini will not get credit for the work, even though he broke the story months ago. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. Eco Health Alliance is back in the news. We talked about this with Whitney 4 or 5 months ago. Peter Daszak's Eco Health Alliance has hidden almost $40 million in Pentagon funding and militarized pandemic science. So this article, where's the date on it? This came out mid-December. Sam's did. The exact same story today, this morning, is breaking news. So once again, it's tinfoil hat conspiracy until it's safe enough or convenient enough to talk about it, and then it's breaking. Sam writes, pandemics are like terrorist attacks. We know roughly where they originate and what's responsible for them, but we don't know exactly when the next one will happen. They need to be handled the same way, by identifying all possible sources, dismantling those before the next pandemic strikes. This statement was written in the New York Times earlier last year by Peter Daszak. Daszak is the longtime president of the EcoHealth Alliance, a New York-based nonprofit whose claimed focus is pandemic prevention. But EcoHealth Alliance, it turns out, is at the very center of the COVID-19 pandemic in many ways. To depict the pandemic in such militarized terms is, for Daszak, commonplace. In an October 7th online talk organized by Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, Daszak presented a slide titled Donald Rumsfeld's Prescient Speech. Whew! Let's go and read the quote because it is just classic Rummy. There are known knowns. There are things we know that we know. There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things that we know we don't, and we know we don't know. But there are also unknown unknowns. There are things we don't know that we don't know. That's a real quote that the Secretary of Defense said in front of people and wasn't immediately dragged off and thrown into a padded room. In the subsequent online discussion, Daszak emphasized the parallels between his own crusade and Rumsfeld's. Nice parallel. Nice. Since, according to Daszak, the potential for unknown attacks is the same for viruses. Daszak then proceeded with a not terribly subtle pitch for over $1 billion. This money would support a fledgling virus hunting and surveillance project of his, the Global Virome Project, a doable project, he assured watchers, given the cost of the pandemic to governments and various industries. Also on the video was Columbia University professor Jeffrey Sachs. Sachs is a former special advisor to the UN, former head of the Millennium Villages Project, and was recently appointed chair of the newly formed EAT Lancet Commission on the Pandemic. In September, Sachs' commission named Daszak to head up its committee on the pandemic's origins. Daszak is also on the WHO's committee to investigate the pandemic's origin. He is the only individual on both. The leadership positions are not the only reason why Peter Daszak is such a central figure in the COVID-19 pandemic. However, his appointment dismayed many of those who were aware of Daszak's EcoHealth Alliance funded back coronavirus research, including virus collection at the Wuhan Institute for Virology, and thus could themselves be directly implicated in the outbreak.
Whoa.
For his part, Daszak has repeatedly dismissed the notion that the pandemic could have a lab origin. In fact, a recent FOIA by the transparency group US Right to Know revealed that Peter Daszak drafted an influential multi-author letter published on February 18th in The Lancet. That letter dismissed the lab origin hypotheses as conspiracy theory. I'm going to read that one more time because this was written December 16, 2020. He's talking about a letter that was written in February 18th of 2020 in The Lancet. Now, this is a month before lockdown and about a month after, about 3 weeks after Trump had to admit that something like the Rona had touched America's fair shores. The letter dismissed the lab origin hypotheses as conspiracy theory. Daszak was revealed to have orchestrated the letter such as to avoid the appearance of a political statement. Sachs, for his part, seemed surprised by Daszak's depiction of Rumsfeld, but Daszak reassured him it's an awesome quote. And yes, it's Donald Rumsfeld, Jeff, and I know he's a Republican, but what a genius. Come away from the article for a minute just so we can kind of talk through this. Jones, you look like you have thoughts.
Do I?
Yeah.
Or do I just look repulsed?
Yeah, I hope you have at least thoughts long enough for me to take a drink of water. Or the co-host of the show, and it's not just my job to talk. We can change the dynamic. You can be the hype man. Fucking,
I know, it's just, I mean, we've already covered this, so it's like, I don't know, it's just insane to think that this is back in the news just because, I don't know, why is it even back in the news? Because it's suddenly become acceptable. Because now new parameters for debate were set by the gatekeepers themselves, despite the fact that people have been losing their careers and been vilified over it. So, yeah. I mean, it's just, oh, guys, look at the actors in this. Look at the actors in this. Donald Rumsfeld, for fuck's sake. Come on, guys. Like, do we really have to trust these people with our health? Really? I get you're scared, but I'm also scared of those people first. That takes precedence over a virus that has a 1 in what, 300th chance of killing you. So sorry.
This is also happening while the G7 is getting ready to kick off. That starts tomorrow. That's one of the reasons why Biden is on his first overseas outing.
To confront Vladimir Putin of Russia.
But at the G7, the West is supposed to announce that they're giving out 1 billion free vaccines.
Oh,
no strings attached.
Thank you, thy holy white saviors. Thank you so much. Is that what you want us to say? Fuck off.
I mean, they just found out that a ridiculously high percentage of all of the first responders that took the boop boop in India, the police force, had all been double vaxxed, and 93% of them or something like that tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
After the fact. Was what you're going to give the people? Because you give the people an experimental drug that I mean, not a vaccine. Yeah, we don't. I mean, while we're on that, dude, I'm gonna pull up that fucking tweet because it.
What tweet?
The one from Yimmy.
Oh,
see if I can find it. Yeah, let me close that too. Because you guys who are watching right now, you've kind of followed this. This is why Sam's story from last December is in the news. So Jimmy Dore says, Trump is gone. Can we please stop politicizing medicine now? And then points to a study showing how hydroxychloroquine and zinc treatments increase coronavirus survival rate by almost 3 times. Now, imagine if Jimmy Dore a year and a half ago, had only, had a show in a platform where he could have brought on people like Whitney Webb or Denny Rancourt or Ryan Christian or Del
have a real interview too. Like, have a real interview because, like, I know he interviewed Whitney, but like, there's a difference between getting your brain broken and making it clear that you know nothing about your guest and what you guys are going to be discussing. Like, I get not knowing about the source material too much because, I mean, you know, it happens. That's how I am with crypto. But at the same time, like, I don't know, do like some reading. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. If you're aware of the fact that fear and intimidation is what is driving how you do your show, re-examine what platform you're on, what platforms you could be on, and at least have the temerity to tell your audience, okay, there's a whole lot of stuff that we're not going to be talking about, but what I'm not going to do is lie to you and pretend like everything your government and big pharma are saying about this is right. So I don't want to get my channel taken away. So I'm going to recommend some content creators for you to follow up with on this stuff. And then you come and see me for the stuff that we cover that you know that we're good on. But on this thing, I got to step out because I don't want to lose my business. Like, that's fucking, I would respect that. I would. At least more than what happened. You know, I could at least be like, okay, you're at least pointing, showing people a number of different outlets they can go to for information on this specific thing because you're not going to touch it. Okay. Or in March of last year, April of last year, could have said, I'm willing to lose my channel over this because there's something called Rockfin. There's other platforms out there that are new that are not going to censor me, that are going to allow me to talk about this. Could have changed the entire conversation on a significant part of the left. Could have. Now, mid-June of 2021, just coming to the conclusion that got Jason Burmis demonetized, that got Ryan kicked off the platform, that got us suppressed more than we'd ever fucking been, tried to like algorithmically crush the show into non-existence. And it's only because I was working full-time at the time last year that I was able to keep doing the fucking show in the first place, because it wasn't responsible for paying my bills. Now that it is, holy shit, am I fucked. We need to expand the size of the show and the people who would like to support it, for sure. But my God, dude, how... I don't want to be like, you fucking deserve every ounce of discomfort you've received from your poorly informed decisions. I don't want to be like that. I really don't. And I don't want to be like, holy fuck, you just spent the better part of a year and a half deliberately misinforming your audience, because I don't know if it was deliberate in the misinformation, but the dude did just spend a better part of a year and a half misinforming his audience. Like, there was somebody on my Twitter feed that was like, this guy had me convinced that masks were working, even though there were studies out at the time that showed how foolish that was.
I mean, they wouldn't come to our events in LA because they were waiting for their second jab.
Well, that was,
yeah. And now he feels even worse after having gotten the jab than he would have if he just, sucked it up and gone to our events for the biggest press freedom trial in my lifetime, at least. So, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I look at some of that as more of a convenient, like, I wouldn't be caught dead with these motherfuckers to begin with. So thank God there's a deadly pandemic going around that I can use in his excuse to not have to do this. I don't know. I do kind of want to real quick circle back to the EcoHealth Alliance thing, though, just because of the amount of money that is moved in and out of the Pentagon just from this one company. Just from what, and again, why is the U.S. military the $64,700,000 were paid out to EcoHealth Alliance in grants from the DoD, Health and Human Services, the NSF, USAID, Department of Homeland Security, DOC, USDA, and the DOI. That's a ridiculous amount of fucking money. Military links of the EcoHealth Alliance are not limited to money and mindset. One noteworthy policy advisor to the EcoHealth Alliance is David Franz. Franz is former commander of Fort Detrick, which is the principal U.S. government biowarfare biodefense facility. David Franz was part of UNSCOM, which inspected Iraq for alleged bioweapons, what were constantly referred to as WMDs, or weapons of mass destruction, by the U.S. government and media. Franz has been one of those eager to state, at least when discussing alleged Iraqi programs, that in biology, everything is dual use. The people, the facilities, and the equipment. I love that. Link no longer available. Apparently, NPR didn't want that information to stick around. Just this year, Franz wrote a piece with former New York Times journalist Judith Miller, whose stories of Iraq WMD did much to misinform the U.S. public regarding the case for the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Their joint article, A Biosecurity Failure, America's Key Lab for Fighting Infectious Disease has become a Pentagon backwater, urges more funding for Fort Detrick. Miller and Franz are longtime associates. Miller co-wrote the book Germs, released amid the 2001 false flag anthrax attacks, which repeatedly quotes Franz. Miller at the time received a hoax letter with a harmless white powder, increasing her prominence. I don't know how many people remember the anthrax scares of 2003. But yeah, they basically singled out everyone who was in charge of narrative management for pushing the upcoming Iraq war, and gave them all fake anthrax. Dan Rather got some. A bunch of senators got some. Judy Miller got like it, and by watching this show that all of that was gamed out in a simulated exercise called Dark Winter, right before the September 11th attacks. Because,
I don't remember any of this, but I learned it from Slow News Day and Whitney Webb.
And Jason Burgess. I don't know. Let's give Jason some credit, too. Did a lot of talking about it at the time. What else do we have? Okay, so we're just sort of jumping all around the planet right now, but we didn't mention this the other day when it happened, and I definitely feel like we should. Craig Murray, who was battling the UK court system, he did get convicted. He was sentenced to 8 months. He appealed it. The Scottish High Court denied his appeal. So let's get into this a little bit. Diplomat turned whistleblower Craig Murray suffered a defeat at the High Court of Judiciary in Scotland on June 8th when 3 judges refused to grant him permission to appeal their earlier decision to convict him of contempt of court for his blog post on the trial of former Scottish First Minister Alex Salmond. Murray plans to challenge the High Court's refusal and seek permission from the UK Supreme Court for an appeal. The three-judge panel determined in March that some of Murray's reporting during Selman's trial could have resulted in certain members of the public indirectly being able to piece together the identities of protected witnesses in that case. This is a process known as jigsaw identification, or breadcrumbing. The court, having found Murray guilty of contempt of court via jigsaw identification, ultimately sentenced the Scotsman to 8 months in prison. Typically, a person will only serve half of their prison sentence in custody and then be released on license, akin to parole, for the second half of their sentence. In Murray's case, that would mean 4 months of imprisonment. Murray lodged an appeal to the UK Supreme Court against the conviction as well as the prison sentence. The dissenter reviewed the appeal submissions, which are not publicly available. 3 judges sitting at the High Court who considered Murray's request for permission to appeal are the same judges who convicted him. Neat. It is not uncommon for applicants to first have to seek permission to appeal from the very court which rendered the decision being appealed. The High Court concluded that there were no arguable points in law arising out of the application and refused to grant the appeal requested. However, with the understanding that Murray intends to now seek permission to appeal directly from the Supreme Court, the 3 judges agreed to suspend the 62-year-old's imprisonment for another 4 weeks. Can you imagine being 62 years old and getting ready to go to prison?
I mean, I guess you have to be prepared for anything if you're Julian Assange's friend.
Right. Murray's appeal application rested on 3 key legal arguments, 2 of which are considered in further detail. 1, the test applied by the court for jigsaw identification was too wide and therefore violates Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which guarantees freedom of expression. 2, a sentence of 8 months imprisonment is disproportionate under the circumstances. Any interference in the Article 10 rights of an individual must be prescribed by law. Murray's lawyers submitted that it is settled law that any restriction on the right to free expression, in this case, a court order prohibiting the publication of information likely to lead to the identification of a protected witness, must be adequately accessible and sufficiently precise. The test applied by the High Court in determining the meaning of jigsaw identification is too wide. The appeal submissions asserted making it impossible for any publisher to know what section of the public the court will have in mind when assessing whether public information will identify someone. That's pretty, I mean, this is pretty fucking huge when you get down to it. Because in the March 25th decision against Murray, the High Court determined the question which must be asked is whether in its context the material such as was likely, objectively speaking, to lead to the identification of the complainers. If the material would be likely to enable a particular section of the public to do so, that would be sufficient. Murray's lawyers submitted that section of the public is imprecise. With no further definition or qualification, a section of the public can be of any size or complexion. Agree? Such a test is also unforeseeable, the application stated, because a particular section of the public could be so small that it is no longer the public in any meaningful sense. Yet identification to that section of the public, however small and however close to the complainers, would still breach the order. In other words, a quote section of the public unquote could very well be a co-worker of a complainer or someone who already has extensive or intimate knowledge of the facts of the case. In those circumstances, no media organization could report on the barest details of the case without risking identifying a complainer to someone who might know that person or the accused. Exactly.
Yes.
During the 2-hour trial in January, his lawyers maintained the test should be whether an everyday member of the public was likely to be able to piece together the identity of a protected witness as a result of the publications and not merely a, quote, section of the public. Yes.
Right. That would be an easy fix.
This is the fucking thing. And you guys that are watching right now, like, you've seen us do shit like this, where we've got friends on screen in a panel or something like that, and we kind of forget that we're doing this in front of, however many hundreds or thousands of people live, and a little bit of inside baseball falls out. Now, unless you are directly tied to whatever it is we're talking about, it's really hard for you to be sitting on the other end of that conversation and follow everything along. And it sucks in a lot of ways, because in some cases, like, some of the information is, protected. Can't come out and say everything, because it would damage people. Trying to mitigate or not have any damage done when we do these, unless we're intentionally going after somebody for something.
Yeah, unless if we're punching like so far above our weight, you'd swear we're an anime protagonist. Like,
you're fond of that one, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
But so essentially, Craig Murray, in a number of blog posts, was somewhat speculating, and if you were intimately familiar with the machinations of Scottish Parliament and the Scottish Prime Minister, and if you were like an absolute insider on the trial, you maybe, although there's no way to prove it, would have been able to eventually, with other sources and compiling lots of single snippets of information all over the Scottish media sphere, be able to put together maybe who one of the complainants was in the Alexander Salmon case.
Yeah, like even if you wanted to do that, like, Murray wouldn't be the only source necessary.
So,
like, you'd have to corroborate it with like several other little things, and that would probably take a shit ton of time, and I highly doubt that anyone would actually do it.
I mean, I've seen the links that some of you guys go to try to like crack the fact that like Graham Elwood had a problem with me or something like that. So I'm not going to put that entirely past anybody, but abso-fucking-lutely ridiculous to hinge the future of court reporting on something like jigsaw identification or breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what is fucking happening here. The UK court is using Craig Murray in this jigsaw identification case as a test subject to see what further constraints they can put on the press when the press goes to report on issues that are coming out of a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least that's how I see it. I don't know. It's just it's one more avenue, one more way that they can put a leash on the press.
Yeah, I mean,
they can do it with Julian Assange's like best friend.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, the blatant tragedy of this case to be, perpetrated against one of Julian Assange's friends. Like, hey, we're not just going to restrict press freedom with Julian Assange. We're also going to restrict it even further with one of his best friends. Ha, 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 take that.
I mean, if you go, this goes back to the Stratfor or HB Gary emails where they flat out lay out the plan for going after Assange, and you keep him tied up in court, go after everyone he's ever talked to.
Wasn't Palantir also involved in that, or am I thinking of something else?
Well, it's Stratfor, which is Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
So the same lead goblin, different goblin army. Yeah.
Lead goblin?
Palantir, I guess orc. Is Peter Thiel like the Urukai?
It was a literal PowerPoint presentation. I wonder if I'm thinking of the same thing, but it was like a literal PowerPoint presentation that was like how to deal with the WikiLeaks threat or some shit like that.
There was but this was the thing that I'm talking about is the email that's like move him from country to country, keep him tied up in the courtroom.
Okay.
That go after his family, go after his employees, go after everyone he's ever spoken to, that kind of thing. I do know the PowerPoint presentation you're talking about. That I believe was from the HB Gary hacks.
Yeah, that was HB Gary hacks, but it also had Palantir in it, which is that's what I thought of when you said HB Gary, because yes, Julian Assange has been targeted like this on more than one occasion, guys.
For over a decade now.
Yeah. Psychological torture on top of the physical torture. Awesome.
So our good friend and MCSC network colleague, Robbie Yeager. Shout out to Robbie.
Robbie, Scoop Master.
He has been doing basically all of the financial reporting on Sunrise Movement. You guys know this if you've been watching the show for any length of time. We started having Robbie on to talk about Sunrise a little bit more than I think 2 years ago now.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite shows he did, was with Robbie. I was like, hey, that's my dog Robbie.
So let's go to this thread. Robbie says, spent a lot of time uncovering Sunrise Movement's dark money donors. Has been very clear, been clear they're co-opted, especially after the large sums from Soros and 1630 Fund. He says my reporting was usually met with hostility or denial. You don't have to take my word for it anymore. Alex O'Keefe, who I understand, my reasonably doesn't want to come all the way forward right now. I'm going to assume that's not even a real name. Put this out 2 days ago.
WikiLeaks secure drop, Alex.
Huh?
WikiLeaks secure drop.
Right. This is pretty big. Sunrise Movement directors terminated me after I sent this letter to our members. And I am going to go ahead and pull this up. And we'll get to that in a second. The letter revealed that Sunrise was losing many Black and working class members. Our Black members made a list of demands. Sunrise leadership failed to honor a single demand and tried to cover up the existence of the demands. Black members' demands were a, quote, threat to our DNA.
White savior.
Before the letter went out, I was warned by a top Sunrise leader that I would never be welcomed back to the inner circle. I warned their strategy would be to personally attack me and ostracize me. I was threatened legally. This has been the strategy they've used against me and many Black and working class members who organized to challenge Sunrise top leadership over the years. NDAs have suppressed others from sharing their truth. I won't sign. It's hard to say this, but the top leadership's hostility and legal threats drove me to suicidal thoughts. These were friends I built a movement with who turned against me for sharing truths they didn't even deny. This gentleman says, I was the first Black leader of Sunrise Org. I was the longest tenured Black person in a white majority organization. That alone suggests the hostility that met me. It was a hellish battle to transform white savior, socialism averse messaging to the radical vision we sometimes achieve. It's sad for me to admit Sunrise is co-opted. It's not the fault of our members. Co-optation is not always a call from an unlisted number. It's nonprofit structures that slowly set perimeters of your organizing and your agitation. One small example is after our Wide Awake campaign, donors told us to stop doing agitational actions outside of politicians' homes. Remember when they did that?
Yeah.
There's a reason it's taken 6 months to even do a single action targeted at Biden. But what's more insidious is how we spend our money after gaining tens of millions. Most money is spent on an ever-expanding staff. I had to fight to send any money to our members to use in their communities. We ended 2020 with a surplus, yet still refused to fund any mutual aid.
Reminds me of another organization.
Huh?
I was just saying, reminds me of another organization I know.
Oh, dude, I mean, if you want to, we can go ahead and talk about all these fucking groups. I mean, we really can. I am an activist. I'm not discouraging activism. I'm encouraging going into activism with wide the fuck open eyes. The greatest sin of Sunrise leadership is resisting even endorsing our members doing mutual aid as communities died and starved in 2020. Members that did mutual aid were labeled problem hubs. Top leadership fears community organizing distracts from electoral work. I say this as someone who frequently met with our big donors. There should be no board of directors, unaccountable mega donors. Our members deserve a democratic vote in the national leadership of their movement. We shouldn't treat members like unpaid interns. Word. Why do these millionaires donate to us? Our spunk? No, there are billions to be made from the green transition. There are South American and African countries to pillage for lithium and other resources necessary for green energy. Sunrise spokes always pivot from internationalism. Yes, you would not believe how many times the leaders of Sunrise tried to move away from the Green New Deal as our central mission, trying to pivot to moderate proposals like Climate Energy Declaration or Thrive Agenda. Y'all must protect the Green New Deal at all costs. Sunrise can become a revolutionary movement. But right now, the org is sleepwalking to a capitalist green transition at best. There is not a vision of liberation at the center of Sunrise. Through comms, I helped create a false myth of what the movement was actually doing. You aren't going to win a damn thing in the monthly White House Zoom meeting. Believe that. I'm proud of my work with Sunrise. I led the propaganda campaign to make climate a central issue in our politics and swung elections. I gave my people a voice among the elite. I trained thousands and invested in local work. It was a gift to help so many young people find their power. My takeaway is that revolutionary movement work is image making and mutual aid structures. The fiery images of Minneapolis activated mutual aid networks to support the largest uprising in U.S. history. I encourage every nonprofit to learn from the people's example. As I leave, I know it is only local Sunrise members and their communities who can seize control of Sunrise from the donor class and the nonprofit managers to use this movement and its money to liberate the workers of the world. But it will be a battle. Thank you, bunch of people and others, for the trust and the most exciting adventures of my life. Seeing the full power of the uprising last year was an incredible gift I will not forget. Kicker, they fired me while I was on vacation days. Thanks for the memories. Email address, sign up for newsletter. Glory Jones.
That sounds like a lot of organizations. Yeah. I mean, oh, jeez.
He's a good dog. Good boy.
He can't hear you.
Yes, he can, Glory Jones. He can hear me just fine. He knows he's a good dog.
Okay. Totally lost my train of thought. Gosh, I mean, like, you know, when he said, it was sad for me to admit Sunrise is co-opted. Like, yeah, I felt that to a strong degree. I mean, like, I know that large organizations are primed to get co-opted, but like at the same time, you know, it feels like that you almost have to drop a part of the cause to the wayside because they take up so much activists and they take up so much of like even the culture surrounding activism, and they take up a lot of the conversation too because of propaganda and narrative management. So I mean, like, it sucks to have to leave something like Sunrise, I mean, I had no problem with it because I was never involved with those fuck. But I mean, like, you know, with something like Black Lives Matter, like, it sucks to have to leave something like that because it's still very much a cause worth fighting for. But because of the organization, because it's so entrenched in electoralism and in helping the very empire and oligarchy that it's supposed to be opposing, then like you kind of have to leave it, but like the cause is still in your heart. So it just sucks to see something like, you know, an issue that's so important get crowded out by a bunch of co-opted organizations. I don't know. And like, yeah, I don't know. And especially because all these co-opted organizations like target young people and recruit them all the time. So it's like, I don't know, I want to like de-recruit them almost, but no, like there's only so much of us, and there's only so much of us that actually care to try and do that. So it's like,
yeah. But I got so much shit for calling out Sunrise. I'm just saying.
Yeah, nah.
Like years again, I was pretty early on that. This doesn't look right because they like popped up out of fucking nowhere with like super polished sites, everything, and I'm like, this, I don't trust this. And then I got as much info as I could about the donors, and this is before I even saw Robbie shit. This is way before, and I was like, oh, that's kind of shady. Mm-hmm. Like I found, I think it was the Sierra Club and another org, and I was like, well, that's not great. And man, I got dragged for that, but you know, it's nice to be right once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, and it trickles down too. Like there will be people that say like, oh, well, you know, I think the local chapters are still fine though. I mean, like, yeah, they're fine for now until it trickles down. Because like, you know, I've seen some of the Sunrise leadership down here in Miami, and let me tell you, some of these motherfuckers are complete dead-eyed activism speak robots. And I mean, you can say the same thing about other causes, like plenty of the local DC organizations, or, you know, a lot of the local LA organizations. Like, you know, Black Lives Matter LA is co-opted as fuck. Like, they literally fucking set up money laundering schemes to raise money for funerals for Black people murdered by police, but then didn't even give any of the money they raised to the Black mothers of those people killed. And one such case is Lisa Simpson. You can look up a video of her confronting Melina Abdullah of Black Lives Matter LA, being like, yo, where the fuck is the money that you raised off my son's death, on some real Sean King shit. So it's like, you know, it all trickles down eventually, and the whole thing just becomes a clusterfuck.
So I remember, I think early 2019, and miss the guy every day, Jason Carney and I were talking about Sunrise, and we were getting ready to do a live stream, and I'm like, yeah, dude, and I mean, you know, it's kind of got to talk about how absolutely fake this organization is. And he's like, oh, dude, why are you trying to end your show? You're just getting started. You know? And the amount of hate mail that you get when you point out the glaringly obvious facts about Sunrise is incredible. I can't imagine what it would be like as a Black man in a leadership role inside that organization. I mean, and you know, he was the only Black dude in a leadership position. And you know that top-down organizations like this only shit on Black, brown, and poor white people. Like, that's who they're ostensibly helping, right?
It's
none
like
of us need your fucking help that way.
Having to be a Black person in a white savior environment is really something special, because I don't know, honestly, oftentimes you're carrying the whole damn team half the time, more than half the time. Yet you're still expected to kiss up to your white saviors. That's what a lot of it is like. It's like, oh my gosh, but a white person and they did this, and oh my god, I respect them so much for it. Please, please, please give them all your accolades. It's like, dude, I saved that motherfucker from heat stroke just yesterday. What you want? That was true story, by the way, but yeah.
No, I could tell. I could tell you were drawing from personal experience on that one. Fucking dude, I see it, and I have seen it my whole fucking life. Except for prison abolition. Like this, the Assange stuff, this is the first time that I have been involved in any activism around a political prisoner where it was a predominantly white space and it was predominantly top-down organized, and there was a complete and total hierarchy that you had to navigate. Like, this is not usually the case with political prisoners or prison abolition or anything like that, because they're so largely dominated by black and brown people in the leadership and as the people you're advocating for. And while it does sometimes get top down and bullshitty, which we can see very clearly in Black Lives Matter National, with at least with all of the stuff around Mumia Abu-Jamal, even the white people involved are like, yeah, no, we're just here to help. Like, straight up, just here to help. Okay, like what you point.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with just following, guys. Like, sometimes we just need you to show up in solidarity and support. And you know, if the cops show up, then we're gonna need you to be a shield. But don't worry, they probably won't hurt you anyway. Like,
unless you're me. But I don't get put up in front as the white shield. I'm
only if you're
looking for a respectable white person to put in front of me because I'm getting
only if you're wearing only if you're wearing a red hat with an American flag.
Even then, I've got the wrong tattoos.
That's why you have, your long sleeve Western wear shirts, though. You're not getting out of this.
Bro, I promise if you put me in a lineup with 8 other rednecks, I'm still getting hit first. It's an aura or a vibe.
I know. I'm just saying. I've seen how Commander X crossed the border. So I don't rule out
it. If makes you feel better, Steve, I have that same fucking problem. You know how many times I've been jumped, dude? Like, it's crazy. Like, it's nuts. Like, people I don't know, just like randomly will fucking come after me. I'm like, who the fuck are you, dude? Last time it happened was my first day at my last corporate gig. And I was walking home from lunch in San Francisco and had some crazy bastard follow me trying to fight me. It's like, so I get it. It's annoying.
I mean, it usually only happens to me with law enforcement. I don't randomly get like people that just try to fight me.
Yeah, I get randos.
Really pretty much just cops.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Yay, getting harassed when you're just trying to canvass a neighborhood. Yay.
We got a couple of super rays. No offense. Thank you, Costello. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Costello, I didn't get to shout out the super rays earlier this morning during ABB, but I very much do appreciate the support. And please, y'all, keep that up.
It's always appreciated on Slowness Day.
We got some great questions in the chat. Kind of want to go through some of these. So when a perpetrator labels something a conspiracy theory, is that them admitting criminal conspiracy? there's probably a case to be made for that.
Yeah.
I do. There was something that I just saw. Oh, I got to turn off the auto scroll. Oh, come on. Where'd it go? It's all jumpy. Do you think the left will ever face that they were fooled for so long?
I mean, to
No.
do that, I'd like to see how long it takes the right to realize that. And then, that'll be my baseline for how long it takes the left. I mean, both, as long as you're buying into a side of this, you're getting fooled. And I don't think that any side, left or right, is more or less culpable to, falling for all of this. I don't. So, my answer to that is however long it takes the right to get their shit together. Do we have any more questions?
Oh, sorry. Telegram started dinging, and I had to respond to something real quick. The Grimerica boys are thinking about throwing a festival in Texas in October. They're trying to round out the list of speakers, and just threw it to the Union of the Unwanted crew that they're thinking about doing this, and is anybody who's involved with Union of the Unwanted interested in being a part of this thing? Y'all know me. I like a party. I like a gathering.
But you also have to build a commune.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Well, while you're figuring that out, I kind of have something along the lines of activism for the liberation of Black and brown people. I have some cool actions to show for Palestine, because basically I'm talking with some local pro-Palestinian organizers here to see if they have any direct ties to Palestine, and if there's a way to help send them aid that way. And then obviously there's also the case of to keep spreading information about the whole Zionazi apartheid illegal regime. But there's another wave of actions that's coming up in support of Palestine that I think is really cool. So the first one we saw a couple days ago, we saw how they did this. Viva, viva Palestina! So basically, the port of Oakland was supposed to receive a shipment of Israeli capital flow, but activists and a group of trucks basically went to the port of Oakland and pretty much just occupied that space and didn't let them pass.
Long live Intifada! Long live the Intifada! And end the occupation!
And then, basically they were able to shut down a terminal of the port for the morning with a team of activists and trucks. Yeah, so that was that action that took place the morning of June 4th. And then I have almost an even more like almost hardcore one, I guess you could call it, to show, which took place more recently. This is from today, in which a group called Palestine Action basically occupied a factory for Elbit, which well, I can read the description here. At 4:30 a.m. this morning, Palestine Action stormed, scaled, and occupied the Runcorn factory of APPH, a Canadian-owned aerospace company which manufactures military technology and landing gear for Elbit Systems' drones. The company supplies components for drone construction at sites in Leicester and Shenstone, producing crucial technology and hardware for Israel's drone fleet. Today's action comes as Palestine Action widen and escalate their direct action campaign targeting those who enable Elbit production of murderous arms, including their suppliers and landlords. The storming of APPH Runcorn follows direct action taken yesterday at the headquarters of Elbit's landlords, LaSalle Investment Management. And so far, activists have broken into the factory to dismantle the drone and aircraft machinery, have destroyed property, including floodlights, ventilators, windows, and cameras, have sprayed blood red paint across the premises, and are currently occupying the roof to prevent operations at the site. And you can see a picture of it there where obviously you see the blood they smeared along it. Palestine Action have taken control of Runcorn Factory, a supplier of Elbit's drone technology, which are used to bombard and surveil Palestinian civilians before entering the global market, sold as quote-unquote battle-tested to repressive regimes across the globe, one of those being Azerbaijan and their genocidal war against Armenia as well. Today's action follows the targeting of Elbit's landlords LaSalle in London yesterday morning. Palestine's action campaign to shut Elbit down will continue to escalate and expand, and targeting all those complicit with and profiting from Elbit's arms and technology. Palestine Action will be targeting all firms which had dirtied their hands by partaking in Elbit's business of bloodshed, Israel's war crimes, and Elbit's production of drones. To facilitate these, rely on thousands of complicit suppliers, landlords, shippers, financiers, and more for their effective operations. It should be clear by now that we will not rest until Elbit is shut down, making the choice clear for all complicit firms: cease dealing with Elbit or get shut down along with them. By shutting down a key supplier of Elbit's drone technology, Palestine Action have broken another link in the global drone supply chain, halting the flow of combat drones to Israel, where they would be used to repress, surveil, bombard Palestinian civilians in Gaza and occupied territories. Activists occupying the site are intended to be disruptive as possible, having broken into the factory, dismantled machinery, destroyed property, including smashed floodlights, ventilators, windows, and cameras, sprayed blood red paint over buildings, and taken control over the roof to prevent operations. Today's actions seek to ensure APPH are unable to continue their participation in the production of drones for Israel's war crimes. Now, real talk, I'm not losing any sleep over their destroyed property, but obviously, because we're on YouTube, no, you guys, don't do that. Because we're on YouTube, I guess I have to say that. But also, real talk, not losing sleep over that. This is going to be this is just a part of series of global actions taking place. Sorry, I can't talk right now. Taking place to mess with the war machine in Israel, to mess with key suppliers of Israeli capital and drones and other war technology and surveillance tech. I don't want to give away too much, just because, for safety purposes of organizers down here, but I have been talking to them. There will be some BDS actions taking place in South Florida, targeting funders of the Israeli settlements, and I don't want to go too much into that, just because It's not fully public yet. But yeah, so that's the kind of the latest wave of actions taking place to really get at the Israeli war machine. And yeah, so an overview of that.
Twitter is going on a spree of banning doctors and all of these accounts that have like collected accurate, verified, successful preventatives and treatments for the Rona. Every time, and this directly relates to what you were just talking about, Jones. Every time an activist organization like Palestine Action starts to get some traction, every time they start to get their name out and see successes in their actions, there's always a massive wave of social media censorship that just kind of swoops down all over them. And that's the org that got on top of the roof of the was that the building that you were talking about, the red paint and all that shit just now?
Yeah,
that was that facility. Yeah, those guys are badass, dude.
I'm like, that's awesome, bro.
The reason that they're doing that though is because like affiliate or sister organizations that are all about direct action have completely stopped during the scamdemic, man. That thread that we were just looking at about Sunrise, I mean, that's accurate shit, dude. They haven't done a single thing. They haven't done a single action during the entire time Biden has been elected. And they only were doing a couple of them during the entire 4 years that Trump was, because all of their activism is centered around legislation, which is fucking dumb. Anyway, Extinction Rebellion should be doing the exact same thing that Palestine Action is. They're a UK-based org, for fuck's sake. That's where most of their on-the-ground presence is. That's where all of their resources are. They've got people that did a die-in in the middle of it. They shut down bridges, for fuck's sake. Like, where?
Do that.
Yes! Where are other activist orgs when Palestine Action is risking their fucking freedom?
That's serious stuff. Like, the only reason why I even showed that action at the factory was because they publicized it themselves. Like, that's how serious an action is. Like, if I heard about it, I probably would have shared it in the element in the Discord, but like, honestly, I wouldn't show it on stream if they didn't publicize it themselves. Like, that's a serious action, guys.
And that's I mean, look, dude, there are all different kinds of activism, you know, and I mean, really showing up at an event with Medea Benjamin is enough to get you arrested. You know, it is. So this is stuff that, like, I want you guys to be fully prepared for when you come meet us in the streets.
Wearing one of these is enough to get you shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys already know that you can find us on the ground, but like, we want you to know what you could potentially be getting into should you decide to join us. You should join us, by the way. We have great events. We do. We have some.
Yeah, guys, trust we're well read on OPSEC.
But it is, man. There's a certain amount of risk that you take going to any protest. And when you evolve in your activism, there's substantially more risk every time you go to an action, to the point to where, like, you don't bring your phone anymore. You don't bring any identification unless you absolutely have to. You make sure you have enough cash in order to get some commissary if you get locked up.
You make sure you have a change of clothes.
Know your lawyer's number by heart.
Yeah.
Or at least know of a lawyer's number by heart if they're not yours.
Get familiar with the local bail fund.
Yeah. Go find your National Lawyers Guild in your town, your area. Like, figure out who the representative for the National Lawyers Guild is, where do you live, make sure you have that number. And I mean, really, it damn near everything can be criminalized, especially if you're at a public event. And anything that you do can be twisted easily. So as it gets weirder, just expect weird shit to happen. It won't be as shocking that way. I don't really know what to say, man. Like I've gone through several laptops, several phones, just from doing the Assange activism. Like the last 5 weeks, Signal has been basically useless for me. I hate it anyway, but it's the only way that a handful of people communicate with me.
My IG Live and Periscope was straight up broken. Like, one day I could stream, one day I couldn't.
Yeah, live streaming on Twitter was like that for us. We stopped altogether trying to.
It worked for like 2 weeks, and then it stopped working.
Yeah, that's why whenever I go to protest, I do Twitter threads, but like even now I'm getting fucked with on those because like what was it? Not the Boca action. The Boca action actually was all right for the most part, but like when I was in Wynwood, like I could not tweet out anything. And that's what I do. Like I do the protest threads because my live streaming from Twitter and IG was literally broken. Like I could not live stream. So then I started doing the Twitter threads, and now those are getting messed with. But guess what does work? The whole time while I was in Wynwood getting the signal jammed out of my mind, I was able to text Slow News Day on Element, and I was able to talk to them in Jitsi. Encryption, guys. Okay. And
well, and Josh had a good point about that too, is that there are websites and apps that law enforcement knows that are going to be used, and you can specifically throttle those. You like take a virtual like pinch to it. Essentially, am I correct in that, Sleepy? I know I'm poorly explaining what's happening.
I mean, more or less. There's no doubt. There's no daylight between the government and these platforms.
So, I mean, only the activism that they want people to see is going to get out. That's why at a lot of these huge BLM events last year, you were only seeing violence. You were only seeing like very carefully selected at start point clips of agents provocateur or just run-of-the-mill shitheels.
Yeah, speaking of, if you're gonna try and infiltrate fucking Antifa and at night, for the love of God, if you get found out, expect to get the shit out of beat.
Is this the Andy No Boots Unlicked thing?
Yeah, this is the Andy No Boots Left Unlicked. Like, dude was caught trying to infiltrate a group, and y'all acting surprised that he got his ass beat. Please. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to tell you.
You
got caught infiltrating the Proud Boys, you get fucking shot.
Right? Right? You know that if you're putting on a costume to go fight somebody else in a costume, that if you try to put on the other team's costume and go infiltrate them, they're going to react violently. Like, why would you act surprised or be like, this is proof that they're violent? I directly provoked them by fucking pretending to be one of them for the sole reason to discredit them. I can't believe they're angry.
Dumbo.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
And these are the people that make millions off of the fucking culture war.
Yep.
Like, the dude told you exactly what the setup is and exactly how disingenuous all of it is. And yet
And
people still
motherfuckers.
give their energy, attention, and money to something that completely fabricated.
Yep. Dumbasses.
Bro.
And then one last thing that I came up with real quick that I wanted to highlight as part of this like kind of last string of activism here, which honestly just does not get talked about a lot, but Operation Feed Yemen. If like I know that it's hard times for everyone, but through Operation Feed Yemen, there are people literally out there, like you can see in the Twitter pictures, like making these little care packages just to help Yemeni families like survive, like because that's literally where they are. They depend on that sort of like resource mobilization just to be able to. Oh my god! And they scrubbed my follow. Damn. They depend on that resource mobilization to be able to like help the people of Yemen survive, on top of advocating for an end to the war, obviously. But this is from Humanity Voice, who regularly pops up in the Op Feed Yemen tweet storms. We're on the ground delivering much needed food and medical supplies to the people in Yemen. May God reward our donors for their open-handedness during our emergency appeal for Yemen. Continue to help and give them hope. And yeah, I just if you search up this account, or if you search for OpFeed Yemen, you'll find ways where you can actually like directly help, because a lot of the people participating in these tweet storms are like anons or just regular human rights activists that are on the ground giving direct aid to the Yemeni people. So that's something that I really wanted to highlight, just because like, you know, in the string of activism, I genuinely feel like it's not getting enough attention, and it's something that really needs it and deserves it. So
I just now realized that I said we were going to pull up Alex's letter to Sunrise, and I did open it, but then we didn't go through it. And I feel like it would be doing that gentleman a disservice if we didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, because this is important shit, man. And there's going to be a lot of like lefty, progressive, kind of borderline virtue signally or whiny language, but that's also the space that they're working in.
And I know we're kind of circling back to this subject again, but it just like to close out kind of the little activist section, like, please don't forget about Yemen. I know we're putting the big emphasis on not forgetting about Palestine, but like, please, like, it is really the largest humanitarian crisis that Yemenis are going through. So, yeah.
So just on an overview here, this is Alex's paper that he submitted to Sunrise Organization top leadership. Remember, this is coming from somebody inside the organization who was in a very high leadership position. So this is a manifesto from leaders in both the national communications team and Black constituency. We've been part of Sunrise for years. Some of us founded the original BIPOC caucus. We believe our memories and open conversations can offer perspective on power dynamics hidden by top leadership, causing harm and inertia across the movement. Our perspective is not definitive, and we welcome yours. We are lifting up the September demands of Black Sunrise Caucus, withheld for 6 months by top leadership. We're calling on Sunrise Movement Organization to publicly reckon with the movement-wide crisis we are in, dismantle our white-owning class culture, and to publicly commit to using the tens of millions of dollars we have to equip our base and build multiracial, cross-class community power for a Green New Deal. Sucks that you can't click on the link, because I can't even see what the original demands were. I'm going to go ahead and request edit access to that. Never mind. I'll do that later. Not simply a critique of Sunrise, is a recognition of an immediate massive opportunity to build power for the free society we all dream of by unlocking the potential of our movement and our campaigns. It is a regrouping to fully live out our core principles and theory of change. We kind of get down to the meat and potatoes of this, into what must be done. All Sunrise staff and volunteers personally act on the Black Sunrise Caucus demands. Still no way to click that. Embracing experimentation in Sunrise Principle number 8. White leaders need to carry the weight of repairing racial harm instead of relying on Black and femme labor. Top leadership publicly commits to the Black Sunrise Caucus demands in full. Every founder, division director, and department director must restore trust by making a statement to the movement both individually and as a group. Reckon with mistakes, create a shared history of conflict, embrace experimentation and vision to build a multiracial cross-class movement. I'm going to get that right on the first go before we get through this. Number 3, a public reckoning and public transfer of power. We must dismantle the culture of racist and classist decision-making by making a public statement of where we have failed the movement and how we intend to begin a new era of the organization with new leadership. Staff and hubs can participate in reckoning sessions and movement visioning sessions so we can move forward with power together. Glory, we need to pause here for a minute.
What? Why?
Because can you imagine being involved at any level of the Sunrise movement and having to, like, let's say that like where you or I would be if we were involved in Sunrise, would be like, probably on the ground volunteer, maybe like in a regional group or local group, involved on a logistical level in some way, shape, or form. But to have recognized these problems, to have not been able to vocalize them, to know that we're a part of essentially George Soros's limited hangout for future and green energy profits, and then to have to like go and sit through a reckoning session or a movement visioning session.
I gotta be real, I don't know what a reckoning session entails.
I would imagine it's an airing of grievances. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a sort of milquetoast way of saying we're going to hold some people accountable and shit's gonna get heated.
Okay, yeah, I'd be for that. I bet I'd probably be in the front lines. I name dropped Christophe Del Wire, the fucking Secretary of General of Reporters Without Borders, as a question to the Shiptons at the panel on Sunday. Like, yeah, I'd fucking love to call out some co-opted leaders. If that's what the meeting entails, because I honestly, I came into this from like the sports world first, so like I saw everything from the outside and I was like, nope, not me. I'm gonna stick my ass on the ground and I'm gonna be happy with that. So like I never really got up to speed with all the activism speaker, if that is even what you want to call a reckoning. What the
fuck that means either. It's like buzzwords. Maybe use actual fucking language that people can understand. That would be good. I don't know. It just sounded bougie to me.
It did. It's like if someone imagine if someone came into the Jitsi meeting like, so what do you think is the movement direction that you guys are going for here? Do we need to have a reckoning with this? If someone popped into the Jitsi right now saying that, it would be hilarious.
So I'm going to kind of just breeze through some of this. The point 4 is, since we don't currently have an organizing division director, appoint a new organizing division director with a demonstrated commitment to liberationist movement building. The division should not be restructured prior to the appointment of a new director. This will be counterproductive to rebuilding trust and resetting culture. Create a steering team to direct the cultural reset and community focus across all areas of the organization. This cross-ranked team should have real power, not simply consult the most powerful. Steering team must not be anonymous and must have public meetings about their progress. The steering team must center Black leadership and must not be created by top leadership who withheld and failed to honor Black Sunrise's demands. Bunch of key terms. Ooh, the state of Sunrise. Let's put this up on screen.
I mean, like, yeah, some of their terms sound pretty bougie, but like none of this is like harmful, honestly.
No.
Especially if you're an activist group as big as Sunrise.
Oh, it just sucks that the terminology has got to a point now to where that has to be included in any sort of presentation or letter like this. Sunrise has successfully used mythic power matched with electoral power to exert political pressure and bring about great victories. We won 70% primary elections and defeated a fascist president. Joe Biden is implementing a civilian climate corps and parroting our OG messaging. Deb Haaland is the interior secretary.
Wait, hold up. So they gotta conform to all this like fake ass activism speak, but they're okay to put OG messaging in there. What's up? Come on.
Yeah. How else are you gonna relate with the kids? But suddenly, with Democrats in power, our over-reliance on electoral power and mythic power is painfully apparent. You don't say. Without oncoming elections to provide a credible threat to politicians we want to move, we lack leverage. We find ourselves unable to mobilize mass people power or seize upon the populist energies of the uprising or the greatest wave of labor strikes since the Great Depression. We are left tweeting morality statements and dominating the national political media establishment, only to be showing up to protest with less and less people each time. Something is blocking us from escalating our people power. Sunrise is on track to turn into a toothless advocacy nonprofit.
Fair.
Our people are not setting the agenda. From the BIPOC caucus demands, the Black Sunrise demands, the development of Hub Council staff and movement leaders have poured hundreds of hours into trying to convince top leadership to truly live out our slogan to build a multiracial cross-class movement. I did it. Top leadership's results are wholly inadequate. My multiracial cross-class movement is not a test of how many BIPOC we have in a meeting, but rather how we deeply support oppressed peoples in our hubs and in the communities they represent. The key balance of political and people power is literally Sunrise 101. The first principle after our mission statement asks us to build community power. If we want to win, we must start taking Sunrise principle number 2 seriously. We grow our power by talking to our communities. You've got to be fucking kidding me.
You look like you want to say something, Steve.
Robbie Yeager couldn't eat, had to drag out even a response to his work from Sunrise, North Carolina. It's a protected wetland in their home state that has the largest fucking gasoline spill in American history. And these guys can't be fucking pushed to issue a statement on it because there's no immediate electoral solution that they can organize around.
Yeah.
We build our power by talking with our communities. Okay. Why doesn't anybody in your community have a relationship with you?
To be fair, I think that's what the letter's addressing.
Huh? Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I know. But I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. How long has Sunrise been around again? And like, I mean, they really, really shut down all of their fucking give a damn or their try. Like, they got that Soros money and went, bet, put my feet up, you know?
They got
This
quick.
dude is 100% justified in issuing every single statement that he did, even the flowery campus Marxist-y ones. And that may just be my own personal bias for not enjoying language like that. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know why you'd call it campus Marxism, though.
It's got the same, like, tone.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think...
And maybe it's because I'm looking at the key terms. Well, like mythic power and stuff like that, which is interesting. It's a concept. But according to this dude, mythic power means it is one, WON. Mythic power is one when creative strategy and narrative interventions expand the public imagination of Sunrise's size and power, or strengthens the credibility of our Green New Deal vision. The communications division considers this pillar as vital to our success as a political power and people power.
So, outreach or solid information outreach? I don't know. Like,
That sounded like some fake it till you make it shit to me.
Yeah, I'm a very spiritual person, but I think calling it mythic power is pretty bullshit.
I mean, it seems
like
I
wasn't even against calling it mythic power until I heard the definition.
Until you found out what it meant.
I was like, no, that's not it.
In the immortal words of Riley Freeman. Wait, no, don't.
I thought you were about to repeat one of Riley's more common quotes. I was like, hold up there. Hold up.
You don't get to say any of that.
You were like in the
all the words you can't say. All of them.
It's okay. It just happens to be
3 words. You can't say 2 of them.
I know, but it just so happens to be right. You can say 2 of them, but the first one.
Definitely not the first one. Not for me. No. Not even singing along with hip hop. No. Although I don't over exaggerate censoring myself like Pasta does. That's fucking hysterical. Make Pasta do DMX when you get him to carry
No. Because then every time nigga comes up, he's gonna look for me and point the mic at me.
It's so fucking funny. It's so funny.
I think it's endearing. I don't know.
Oh, it's fucking hilarious, dude. It's hilarious. I don't even think he's specifically pointing at you. Like, I think he's just gesturing in general, but like, oh, dude, it's so fucking funny. God, it's funny. Love you, Pasta. Love you.
Much
buddy.
love, Grandma.
We've been going for a while, and we do have another ABB tonight. So I want to kind of wind down. I would like to get at this dude's closing statement here before we do that. This is fascinating. It is.
Stevie says he replaces it with neighbor or ninja if I'm singing along.
That's funny. This is an opportunity to finally give our movement a North Star post-Bernie. Publicly owning our mistakes is not about diminishing the radical multiracial image of our comms team creates. It is about living up to it. This reckoning could rebuild trust with many BIPOC, poor and working class sunrisers who left the movement, welcoming them into a reformed, honest sunrise. We can finally build movement-wide programs that directly reach millions of people who marched in last summer's uprisings and BIPOC young people who spurred historic youth turnout. As leaders of previous campaigns, we recognize that the good jobs for all campaign success is dependent on an immediate transition to liberationist organizing leadership. The job guarantee is a revolutionary policy with a revolutionary history, which would be resonant to communities across race and class. However, societal transformation cannot be accomplished by nonprofit advocacy. Our organizing can seed the conditions for uprisings to radicalize Congress. The conditions are ripe for uprising just as they were last year. People will get stimmies and unemployment checks again, granting a degree of security and free time to think, but inequality will worsen. Trials of murderous cops will not offer justice for Black lives. Fascistic violence will continue to expose the urgent need to resist the fatal status quo. The public, exhausted or vaccinated, will be ready to find our collective power again in person. It's high tide again. Our movement is at a crossroads.
High tide.
High
Tide.
High tide at crossroads at high tide?
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
We could choose the same processes and culture we have always chosen. Members from our base, especially BIPOC members, will feel silenced and disrespected and continue to leave in staggering numbers. Our staff will try to mobilize ever-dwindling diehards because no new members will join, lacking community initiatives. We will try and fail to duplicate the Pelosi actions lightning in a bottle. Our comms team will mostly depart. We'll come back to that. Starving the hype machine that amplified our political power. Our campaigns will not be dramatic or polarizing because the teams that build them will lack a dialectic culture of creative conflict or grounding in the material conditions of the multiracial working class. We will celebrate the crumbs Biden throws at us and settle into irrelevant nonprofit advocacy, spectators of history. Or we can harness the wave of history, the uprising, strikes, and constant upheavals that are not isolated events. In the era of COVID-19, oh, Jesus Christ, every day is a trigger event. We must be prepared to absorb popular energy. The people are ready for anything. The question is, what is to be done? We can be a threat to the elites who rule America. We can build community-centric people power to seize deep, lasting political power. We can free our people from this year of doomsdays and show our neighbors another world is possible. Become the movement we say we are. Discover your humanity and your love for revolution. Do what must be done. Now, I appreciate that man's sentiment. I
understood like 5% of that whole thing. Either I'm dumb, don't get me wrong, but Jesus Christ, I just want to fucking
Sleepy.
You
are not dumb.
I want to smash
sir.
my head into something. It was so much. It was like listening to a tech dude give me a fucking speech of buzzwords. That's what it. I got nothing from it. Like nothing. I don't know. Maybe that's
yeah. Nah, I get it. I mean, I'm kind of like 60-40 on it. You know, I think a lot of that stuff is like pretty reasonable almost, but also
I mean, I'm sure it is, but like it was lost in the language for me. But I mean, I like Steve said, I appreciate the sentiment. But
that's
like,
how they all.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't.
It's so bad.
Well, this is why.
How you gonna get people into your movement when they can't understand a fucking simple letter, dude?
Bro, like I was once in a meeting with a certain person that just so happens to organize in South Florida. And, one of the persons in the meeting was like the new like leader for the Miami or Broward chapter of Sunrise. This dude comes in on some bullshit, bro. And mind you, like, I'm in the meeting having like, canvassed in like sweltering heat and like busted ass for, said organizer. And this dude comes in the meeting after not having done shit. Like, so what do we think is the direction? What do we think the philosophy of this movement is? I'm just going to type up a Google Doc here. And I think I want to get down some core principles as to what we're trying to achieve here, because I think that will help build an effective framework for what we're trying to accomplish in South Florida. I'm like,
why do they gotta overcomplicate everything? You don't have to fucking overcomplicate activism. You don't.
Because that's the game.
Complicated, no one's gonna do it.
But yeah, that's what I got to say to that.
Oh my god, it's frustrating.
So, I mean, I understand. I understood what I was reading, but I wanted to fall asleep to what I was reading. Yeah, and it really, I mean, that's written for college campus activists, Sleepy. That's why it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Oh, I figured.
But I mean, it's, you're right. You're 100% right. If your argument, or one of the thrusts of your argument is we've got to make this movement more relatable to working class people, regular, like poor ass people, and working class people, you can't use professorial language when you're communicating that. Now, I understand this is supposed to be an internal document. I do. But at that point, like, do you think that the people that you're working with need to see and hear that you have absorbed all of the right corporate buzzwords?
No.
Or can you?
It's about the message. Like, I don't know. Do you think? I don't know how to compare it, but that'd be like saying like, oh, do I talk to Steve the way he talks to me and his, like, I don't know, mountain man jargon? I don't know. I genuinely don't know what to compare it to, but yeah.
Do you code switch when you talk to me?
No.
Right.
I don't know.
That was a better way to put it.
I've seen
That was a better way to put it.
That, like you said, college speak. If you want working class people, guess what? Most of us didn't go to college. Maybe not use all those fucking words that we have to look up. Because if we have to look up fucking 500 words in your stupid letter, we're not going to read. We're just not.
Oh, I'm in
But I get
college.
it's an internal letter.
I'm an honors student in university, and that is such a turn off.
That's kind of how their tweets are too. Like it's not just this letter. Like the letter I get, it was internal, so whatever. But like,
it's just so
that's
blank.
kind of how their messaging is in general. It's just all vague ass buzzwords.
Well, that's their comms guy. That was their national comms guy.
Comms guy and shit. sorry. Chat and shit.
So if you want to know why the message was lost in the professorial language on the Twitter account.
Yeah, like even if I didn't like if I didn't think they were shady and shit, like if I would have read that, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. I'll do something else.
Bro, and look again, like, bless this man for writing.
I'm glad he came out. Like, right on.
Yeah.
More power to him. Like now
we're not. And Alex, whether you see this or even we get to have you on, we're still gonna bust your balls a little bit, brother. We are. Like
no,
nothing
I've got
but
respect
love.
for him, dude. He's
nothing but love.
Dude, Sunrise Movement, like they've got some heavy hitters behind him. Like that's a ballsy move to go against them in any way. So like, he gets much respect from me. But if you want working class people,
I respect him.
You need to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, it's like my thing with Brejoy Gray. Like, I give props for any black person willing to operate within such a white saviorist environment and kind of like, I don't know, endure it and keep busting their
I did
ass for the
understand the
cause
parts
regardless.
on race and stuff. So like, and that stuff was pretty straightforward. And like,
That stuff was
I am
legit.
not fucking surprised that that place is like white as hell. I'm just saying.
Me
I'm not
neither.
surprised. Like I've seen their actions. Like I don't. It's a pretty light event.
Me too.
So I mean, there's a reason for that. Like if you're not, you know, you don't treat people of color right in your organization, they're not going to be there long. They're just not.
Then fuck you.
Brad Kale in the Rockfin chat said the word salad letter is painful to listen to. I just gave up trying to understand what the fuck it was trying to get around to finally say. Bro, I know. And again, like, I don't want to sit here and roast out this dude because I 100% am in his corner for putting the letter out in the first place and for coming forward, for putting together the whole Twitter thread. Like, that is ballsy as fuck. It is, and props. But again, who the fuck are you talking to like that? Like, I mean, really, like, do people have I understand it's professional. I understand you're trying to make an impact. Who talks to anybody like that? Like,
Professionalism is so overrated. It's so overrated. It's so overrated. It's so overrated.
All right. Well, we were gonna wrap like a half an hour ago and then didn't.
Do we have any Super Rays left?
No, not at the moment. We're all caught up over there. Big shout out to everyone who threw a Super Ray. Oh, I will do this one more time. I had to bump up the total on my GoFundMe a little bit just because it's fucking stupid expensive.
So does you want to read out the donations or anything like that?
I will pull up and thank everyone who donated right meow.
All right. Well, I mean, I got nothing coming up in the meantime, so there's my self promo.
Oh, do I have anything coming up? I don't know. Getting very close to reaching the next goal. You guys rock so fucking much. I can't thank you enough. I really can't. And dude, this is gonna be a hell of an experience. So huge thanks to Kyle Gibson, Aditya Iyengar. I'm so sorry. Anonymous, Omar Misa, Eric Jackman, Kathy Vogan, Anonymous, Nicholas Maduro. Thanks, Jones. Natalia Rivera. I know how you operate, Glory Jones. Stephanie Von Zernick, Jean Scheid. The I is after the E. Scheid. Suleiman Sheltoni. Imelda Aguilera. Hey! You're fucking awesome, Imelda. No offense. Hikron Izette. James Quinn. Michael Bowman. Indie Left News. Thank you, Joyce. Catanzariti. Ian Rothman, Anonymous, Heather Barrett. Why are you laughing? Paul Childers, Rob Juno, Larry Lamb, no offense, Rachel Sotos. Rachel, you rock, dude. And I'm gonna be able to read what you sent me and like process it and get back to you. Not tonight because we're going straight into ABV, but at some point tomorrow. Diana Semental, Anthony Scannell, Australians for Assange, Raymond King, Jerry Friedman, Rob, you fucking rock, dude. Anonymous, no offense, Ian Schlackman, Margaret.
Ian, Margaret.
Margaret's fucking super dope, dude. She's rad. Rosa Mullen, and the anonymous individuals. Dude, I'm like about ready to fucking tear up a little bit, but yeah, thank you guys. Going to gonna make this a good film. For sure.
We got anything else coming up, or
Let's see. Tomorrow, get your shit together. That is our weekly call-in show. I love the hell out of that program. I really do. I do. And this is something that like I want you guys to blow up. Like tell everybody you know that you're tuned into and calling into the internet's absolute best call-in show. That is at 11 p.m. on the East Coast, 8 p.m. on the West Coast. I don't remember what I'm supposed to do for Saturday. I don't know.
nice. We got anything Sunday?
I'm sure it'll come to me. 1 p.m. on the East Coast, 10 a.m. on the West Coast, and live on Aftermath FM and iHeartRadio. We will be joined by the Ice Age farmer, Christian Westbrook. That is going to be a tremendous episode. Bring your notebook for that one for sure. I think we're just doing news that afternoon. We may have a couple of drop-in people. Coming up the following week, we've got interviews with Ricky Verandis from The Ripple Effect, Allison Morrow, who else? I don't know who else. I really don't know who else. It's a mystery. And then get ready to get on a plane, go to Denver, start this tour thing, get that kicked off right. We have a number of events going on currently. Today was New York City. Jones, you have that tweet. You put it out this morning.
I did.
Yeah, of where you can.
Oh, yeah.
For the schedule.
Yeah, I thought you were like, I was tweeting from New York City. I was like,
no. I'm trying to find it just so I can pull it up here real quick. There we go.
Okay.
So, tomorrow, Philadelphia, DC on June 13th, Juneteenth in DC. That will be a.
That's not Juneteenth, Steve.
No, I know, I'm fucking with you. Columbus, Ohio, June 14th. Go see Comrade Mindy and give her lots of love. Chicago, June 17th and 18th. I believe there's 2 days in Chicago. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, June 19th. Madison, Wisconsin, June 20th. Minneapolis, Minnesota on June 21st. June 23rd. Come see me in Denver, Colorado. Along with
and the Shiptons.
Huh?
And the Shiptons. Guys, John is such a sweetheart. He's so soft-spoken, and he's like this smiling Australian, even though he's going through so much shit. And it's like, aww, it's so sweet.
June 24th, Portland, Oregon. San Francisco on June 26th. Oakland, Berkeley, Oakland. We're not exactly sure where yet. June 27th, Los Angeles, California, June 28th, 29th, back to Washington, D.C. for the last stop on July 1st.
And then July 3rd is Julian's birthday. Please plan your action where you are. If not, then feel free to come over to LA because we will be raising proper hell for Julian's 50th birthday. And we will be co-opting the 4th of July into what it should be realistically. So, yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Anonymous bites back in about an hour here.
Yeah, we'll be back in 53 minutes with Anonymous Bites back on the Rockfin and on Anonymous Worldwide on YouTube. Thanks as always to everybody who watched. Check this out. Fucking love you guys. You're awesome. Give yourself ass smacks. Couple of them. Fucking wonderful, beautiful freaks, you. Thanks as always to my better than your co-host, Gloria Jones. Big shout out to Allie. We will see Allie tomorrow night and on Sunday. Thanks to Sleepy Josh on the ones and twos.
Sleepy Joe.
Go buy Josh a coffee. Was it abort you, buy me a coffee, or buy me a coffee /abort you?
/bort. Just bort.
Abort?
Yeah.
B-O-R-T, Bort?
Yeah.
Okay. Telling them, making sure that they know. Buy me a coffee /bort.com /bort.
Something like that.
Do that.
Do that thing. You guys rock. We'll see you soon. Good luck to us all.
Love you.